Welcome to Agents of Assurance, brought to you by Devision. So our guest today is Siddant Wadhwani, a trailblazer in the world of software testing and quality engineering. So known for his deep expertise in exploratory testing, agile QA practices, and community building, Siddant has been at the forefront of shaping how testers think in an AI-driven era. From challenging traditional notions of test coverage to mentoring the next generation of QA professionals, he's not just testing software, he's redefining what quality means for modern teams. Siddhant, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today.
Thank you so much, Divya and the Davis show. I look forward to our conversation today.
Great. So you've often talked about moving from checking to testing to learning, right? So how did the mindset evolve for you personally?
When I started my career, of course, I moved into development first. I was a backend developer. But when I took that conscious decision to shift into the test automation world, testing felt like checking if the doors and windows of a house were locked. But over the years, I realized you can lock every door and still have a leaking roof. Initially, my role was about validation, making sure that the requirements were met and things like that. But around the time Agile came in and became mainstream, that's when products started evolving faster than release cycles, and the light bulb moment happened. So it was like testing wasn't all about are we right? It was about are we asking the right questions in the first place? So for me, the SDET transformation was going from a yes or no gatekeeper to more of a context driven investigator, where I was connecting the dots between user intent, what's the business goals, and the system behavior overall. So that's where learning came in, and every defect became a part or a lesson in prevention. Every pass or fail, which I occurred over the period of time, became a data point for future intelligence. And once you start seeing testing in that format, you basically can't unsee it. So testing has and wasn't always been proving that the product worked. It's more about finding the truth, which basically lies between what is the end goal for your customers and what are those silent system assumptions that you make. The best testers aren't just bug hunters, they are basically insight hunters.
So do you remember the exact moment you realized that testing was no longer just about validation?
Yeah, absolutely. So there was a time when I realized that there was a bug that was about to leak into production, and it was a very corner edge case which I had automation for. But that's the moment I realized that if we didn't have proper CI/CD mechanisms, we didn't have Microsoft Team notifications and alerting, where the dev team would get looped in right before we were making the production launch, it could have created a lot more trouble. So that's the point when we realized that it's not only about validations, but making sure that what our customers' needs are.
So what do you believe separates a traditional tester from an intelligent tester today?
A traditional tester often focuses mainly on how does the functionality work? Does it work or no? So they are mainly testing for validation. Whereas if you compare it with an intelligent SDET, they generally ask, why does it work this way? What could break it tomorrow? And today's SDET is more of like a part engineer, a part data analyst, and a part futurist.
I think the prediction part is really important, right? But then when you mentor a lot of these testers, what is the hardest shift that they face in this transformation?
Okay, so it's mostly letting go of tool dependency and also embracing problem solving at the same time. So too many testers define themselves by the frameworks that they use or they know. But if you look at the modern SDET, they define themselves by how they think and how they react. So we all know tools are seasonal, but critical thinking is permanent.
So now that intelligent testing is a buzzword, right? So what does it actually mean?
To me, intelligent testing is when your testing strategy learns as much as your product evolves. It's not just execution. It's more of decision speed that comes into play. And intelligence shows up in how we design tests that map to user journeys or to business impacts. You also focus more on context awareness, and that's why AI models nowadays are more context aware. They depend on RAG, density, and others. But for example, you're running fewer but more targeted tests on code change. So that is something that is where your critical thinking comes into play. And lastly, it is applying self-healing locators, intent matching, and also adaptive coverage.
So, because you touched on adaptive coverage, right? So, I have one other question there. Right? So, when you talk about, like, say, yeah, there's a lot that we talk about execution itself in terms of how it can be streamlined with AI. But what about what comes after the execution, right? The interpretation.
Like I said, the core focus remains on critical thinking, and coverage no longer becomes part of like we ran 1,000 tests and that covers everything. You actually see what matters to you, where are the changes, where are those requirements, and if 50 tests do the job, then you have the baseline. So it's important to understand what's the product's risk profile and how is the mindset change when it comes to testing these pieces.
So, what do you think failure looks like in like an intelligent testing platform?
So, failure basically is not like a red mark in a test report. I think failure is more of not learning from that red mark. When it comes to intelligent testing, every failure should basically improve the next run. So it's important that while you think of self healing and making sure that you have failures within your test report, it is important to understand what caused it, what was the reason behind it, and what you can do to make sure that this doesn't occur again.
Got it. And then, what is your take on these false positives that occur, right?
So it's important to analyze what are the reasons for those false positives. Is it because the way you have designed your framework or your approach is a little different? So that's why you receive those false positives, or maybe your application or the product that's under test is constantly changing and that is creating false positives. So once you understand what is the baseline, I think that is the very first step that you need to take, and then you can have corrective measures in place to like whether it's in terms of testing things manually or optimizing your automation or workflows, that would be the next step.
How is Gen AI actually helping in actually testing these real world scenarios itself?
The first one is test case generation, because based on user stories or logs or production data, in fact, requirements or design documents that you get from multiple sources of inputs, finding the ask and the outcomes becomes super simple when you leverage AI, because now it's able to pass through all that information. It is context aware and it is able to generate those test cases at much faster pace with the knowledge that it possesses. The second is test data generation. When we talk about synthetic data, edge cases, negative cases, or scenarios, all of this can be also generated through AI, because now it knows what exactly is it being, what is the system under test, and it is able to predict, it is able to learn and analyze and tell you that these are the most critical data sets from a negative or edge case point of view, from a security point of view. And just another one is code assistance, where you can also use it for automated scripts generation or refactoring and optimizing your scripts. So now you don't need to spend much time writing those scripts, but rather you just write a script or two and it tells you, okay, you have implemented an add cart functionality, remove cart, edit cart. So it just generates those scripts for you.
But what are the limitations there, and what are some of the misconceptions also that should be cleared up?
There are a couple of misconceptions, and I would say AI will replace testers. That's the most common question that people have on their mind. Um, AI is there to only augment testers. It's great at pattern recognition, but when it comes to context awareness or ethics, I think testers are far more ahead of that ballgame. So, uh, talking about the second misconception, that's more around AI generated tests are ready to run. People believe that, okay, I just queried ChatGPT and I have my answer. I can just simply run it. But the reality is they are ready to review. Human oversight is still critical.
So how do you distinguish between automation and augmentation when it comes to AI in testing?
I can put it in simple words. So automation does the job for you. And when we talk about augmentation, it makes you better at the job. So if we had to relate it with generative AI in testing is mostly augmentation right now. So it's helping you get the job done in a better way.
So, what does the idea of a test center of excellence need to evolve in this AI-driven world?
It's a great question. So if I talk about the year 2005, a test center of excellence, that's almost 20 years back, A test center of excellence was a place or more of a central team that owned everything, like whether it's tools, standards, processes, or procedures. But 20 years down the line, in 2025, it's become more of a mindset where you have a distributed intelligence layer embedded in every single squad. And if we talk about more of a modern test center or quality center of excellence, it focuses heavily on data driven, AI assisted, and federated areas. So, data driven more in the terms of metrics that help you prioritize what to test and make release decisions. When we talk about AI infused testing, it's more about how you can leverage AI to analyze defects in a faster way, optimize your test coverage, and detect anomalies. And lastly, federated because governance is centralized. So execution must be distributed.
Yeah. So then you've said that testing is about asking better questions as well, right? So what's the question the industry isn't asking right now?
So not enough people are asking, how do we measure the value of what we test? I think we measure the quantity, like when it comes to number of tests or what's the execution time, but rarely we measure the impact on user trust or the customer experience and business resilience. I think that's the present come future metric that we should focus on.
And what advice would you give to a tester entering the field today who wants to become intelligent from day one?
Yeah. So starting as an intelligent tester from day one, I would definitely recommend mastering programming skills. No matter AI is there for you to assist you, you need to be technical enough to understand what is it generating. Also to learn how to read the analytics and the logs, because um, again, for customers, if you're not continuously tracking their behavior, learning from it, you're not improving the technique that you're using to test. Second, using AI tools early, not to skip work, but to scale your curiosity. I think that is very important because you have various sites like labs.google. I would say half the world is not even aware about labs.google.com, which provides you tons of AI experiments that you can learn all by yourself. And lastly, I would say building your domain expertise where you can leverage tools that can change a lot of things, understand the business, and that becomes your superpower.
So one opinion that I also have is in terms of how testing needs to be something that everyone owns. Right? So how do you think Gen AI plus everyone owning testing is going to evolve as well?
I strongly believe, see, whether it's any function, especially right now, we are talking about testers or quality engineers, but leveraging AI should come to that area where you start realizing what are those benefits you're getting out of it. So firstly, start with some one or two use cases and see if you're getting value out of it. Not everything AI can solve, not every single use case or problem statement needs AI, but where it can be leveraged and you see the value out of it, I think you should take that first step, take the leap of faith, experiment, build proof of concepts, and portray those benefits to your wider audience, to your teams, to the organization, so that they can also see the value out of it and start engaging to leverage AI for other areas as well. So, quality is definitely the first important factor for customers and the business. But there are several other areas that can also be targeted through AI.
Great, right. So thank you, Siddhant, for patiently answering all these questions. So I'm just going to go ahead with the rapid fire questions, right? Yeah. So, okay, one underrated trait of a great tester.
Empathy for the end user.
So one testing concept that's overrated.
100% automation coverage.
So what's a tool you've outgrown?
There are several, but if I had to talk about just one, it would be the legacy record and playback tool like Selenium ID.
So what's a book or blog that you're thinking right now?
So I started off with Foundations of Software Testing, that's by Dorothy Graham, and Lessons Learned in Software Testing by Kim Kenner, James Park, and Petticoat.
So in one line, so what makes a test intelligent?
I would say a test is as intelligent when it knows why it exists and when it's no longer needed.
So thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. Thank you.
You're
very much.
most welcome, Divya, and thanks to the entire community. I'm happy that I could be part of this session today.